The same year that Atlus was releasing SMT Strange Journey Redux, they also published a promotional game for that remaster called SMT Synchronicity Prologue. I'm just gonna call it SMT Synchronicity and drop the prologue part because that shit is already a mouthful as it is. Synchronicity was the very first game by Team Ladybug that I had played. If that developer sounds familiar, that's because I also made a video on another game of theirs, Touhou Luna Nights. So it was these two chuckle fucks that were responsible for me getting into Touhou, huh? I think it's a pretty cool idea to promote a game with a short little project like Synchronicity, especially if the publisher commissions an indie developer to not just give them a spotlight, but to also help keep their lights on. I also think it's a really cool idea to release this promotional game for free. Free! That's my favorite price! Really, there was nothing that could have stopped them from charging $5 for this game, but they ultimately didn't. What I think is not a cool idea is to release this game, a game for the international SMT series by Atlus, who is a subsidiary of fucking Sega, to release it only in Japanese. Fuck that, and fuck you, Atlus. I'm sure you could have spared the money to localize this title and to use it to promote outside of just Japan. There's not that many words to begin with, but that didn't stop fans from patching the game into English and making it more accessible. Another thing I don't think is a cool idea is that SMT Synchronicity was a limited time download. Fuck that, and fuck you, Atlus. You were only able to download this up until the deadline of December 24th, 2017. Nearly 10 years since this shit has been officially delisted for no real reason. But that didn't stop fans from archiving it and making SMT Synchronicity practically permanently available, which is nice. Atlus bullshit aside, an SMT Metroidvania made by Team Ladybug? I think I'm gonna come! Thank you to my supporters. If you liked the video, consider subscribing or even joining the Patreon. Link on screen and in the description. If you do, you'll be thanked in the videos, be able to watch each video a week early, as well as gain access to bonus videos. SMT Synchronicity Prologue takes place before the events of SMT Strange Journey. That's kinda why the title has Prologue in it. Before the investigation team in Strange Journey gets sent into the Schwarzwelt, a program was made to have human minds synchronized with demons so that they can investigate the Schwarzwelt. But also, Black Frost is fucking with the Synchronicity program and the Jacks get a little racist and decide to commit a little hate crime against him. Does that make sense? Hell fucking no! Strange Journey opens up with everyone involved learning about the existence of demons only once they dive into the Schwarzwelt. How would there be a program to sync with demons if the joint program didn't know dick about their existence? But who fucking cares? This is just an excuse to play as a Jack Frost and Pirate Jack running through the areas of the Schwarzwelt. I don't care why I'm here. I just want to be jacking it around in SMT Metroidvania. That's all I need out of this game. And that part of this game is fun as hell. Now, from the future, having played their future releases, no shit, a Team Ladybug game is extremely fun, filled with good sprite art and music. That's what you kind of expect out of that dev at this point. But back in 2017, when SMT Synchronicity is your first experience with this team, it was amazing. Playing as the Jacks felt fluid, smooth, and satisfying. They transitioned so well into Metroidvania mechanics and gameplay that it was almost surprising. Though I'll be real, as a Metroidvania, it's pretty fucking linear. There's very little branching paths, and not a whole lot of gaining new abilities that allow you greater exploration and depth to the Jack's kits. I mean, their kit comes solid out the gate, and outside of the Demonica suit chaining Frost's main shot, not a whole lot there. Team Ladybug of course got better at their map design, but I think a big part of why this game was designed to be pretty linear has to do with its length. This bitch was only 2 hours, and some of that time was only because I went out of my way to fill in the map and collect a bunch of the optional items. You can easily crush this game and even 100% it in a single sitting, which I did. Reminder, this game was made to be a free promotional game. I doubt that this game was given a crazy budget, so its scope was shrunk significantly. Because of that scope, this game wasn't able to design any elaborate map or any lengthy detours off the critical path. That's fine by me, honestly. That's no deal breaker, but hearing the phrase SMT Metroidvania would likely create some expectation for some in-depth exploration, and rightly so. This is a series of dungeon crawlers. Exploration is the name of the game. But that aspect takes a back seat to focus more on the feel of the game as well as the art department. Another aspect of the game I think went underdeveloped and underutilized is the elemental weaknesses of this game. When you think SMT, one of the things you think of are the exploitation of weaknesses, both yours and your enemies. The boss fights ask you to Ikaruga between the Jacks that tank and absorb attacks like Alice, throwing out both fire and ice attacks. But there's not as much exploitation of enemy weaknesses as you would expect. Like, it is still in there, every enemy does have weaknesses and strengths and nullifications, but it really isn't that big of a deal. I rarely made any conscious effort to switch between the jacks to get some extra damage. You are given sub-weapons in the form of Mazan or Mazio that cover the other elements that I would make some conscious effort to use, but that's mostly because the enemies that are weak to those elements are a bitch to deal with otherwise. Like, I don't want to fight 3 Mots in a row. They're so tanky. But Mazio wipes them the fuck out, so I guess I'll use that. Really, the sub-weapons are more useful in boss fights than they are to exploit enemy weaknesses. You would think after seeing and hearing that Pyro Jack can straight up fly that he'd be busted in a metroidvania setting, and the devs did a good job in making that not feel busted. Flight is not as good as you think here, unlike in something like Deedlit and Wonder Labyrinth, where it's incredibly strong. Pyro moves slower than Frost. You don't get as much height as you would expect with Pyro, so there's platforming that is easier to do with, or only capable to do with Frost. The triple shot is good, but not as fast as Frost. And Pyro doesn't get access to the Demonica suit. Honestly, I spent most of my time playing as Frost, though I feel like Jack Frost could have used a slightly higher jump, not even by that much, just slightly. There were times that I'd go for an intended jump and barely don't make it because I didn't jump at the very edge. I played the Team Ladybug games as they came out, so while I knew that ideas were borrowed for their future releases, I didn't quite understand just how much of Team Ladybug's later games share their DNA to this title until I came back to play this game for this video. As soon as I got control in this game, I was fucking surprised at how similar Jack Frost plays to Sakuya in Luna Nights. Straight wholesale lifted and gave Jack a maid outfit. In order to attack, you mash out the attack button to spam out your projectiles. Frost's ice doesn't travel as far as Sakuya's knives, but they otherwise control the same way to the point that throwing knives downwards while midair causes both characters to float a bit. That floating is way more aggressive with Frost than it is Sakuya, but it's the same idea. Fuck, even the Mabufu sub-weapon you get is just Thousand Knives. Basically the same character. And everything to do with Pyro Jack would be later reused for Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. Press a button to switch between 2 different elements, in Synchronicity it's ice and fire, and with Deedlit it's wind and fire. You switch over your element and you get the ability to fly and float about in a very similar way. Only difference is that you get to float as the fire type in Synchronicity, and as the wind type with Deedlit. A lot of the element switch-up mechanics were expanded upon a lot in Deedlit, but they originate in Synchronicity. With Blade Chimera, not a whole lot mechanically got borrowed from Synchronicity, but I'd argue that Blade Chimera more so borrows aesthetically from SMT. Both games blend in cyberpunk with the occult and demonology, Blade Chimera focusing more into the yokai aspect of that, and I've no doubt that SMT as a whole played an influence in that game's setting and art direction. I want to say I want more. Team Ladybug seems to have an issue with nearly every one of their games where they can be finished in only a couple hours and I come out of it wanting more. And that is especially true here. Only 2 hours? And that's for 100%? Shit. I'd love to see Atlus work with Team Ladybug again to make a full-length SMT Metroidvania, especially with more games under their belt. But what I think I really want more is Team Ladybug games in general. Bro, I'm fucking salivating over Luna Nights 2 over here. Fuck, just inject that shit straight into my veins. But rather than be a glutton unsatisfied with the riches of heavens, I'm not gonna knock this game for being short. If anything, that just makes it way more replayable to me since it's not that big a commitment and can be finished in a sitting. There is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't play through SMT Synchronicity.